All right, y'all. Welcome to what is going to be, I think, a very rewarding Monday morning productivity call for those of you that are prepared to take action. So I haven't said this in a while, but learning, like making the commitment to learn and show up in the absence of action, that's just entertainment. So we're just here this morning. If we're not going to do anything based on what we're talking about this morning, then we're just showing up this morning to visit, right? And see each other and maybe laugh a little bit. The information we're going to go over today is the path that everybody needs to get on ASAP. If you're looking at my results and going, well, the results speak for themselves, you need to ground yourself in the fact that I'm not from Birmingham, much less Smith Lake. I don't have a sphere of influence up here. So, and there's going to come a time in the weeks ahead where I'm going to be putting big, several deals pending, and they're going to be big numbers. And the ones out there who have been halfway listening to me speak about this for the past, since really the year began, you're going to be way behind the eight ball. Way behind the eight ball. Other thing I wanted to point out is we didn't have anybody show up week before last for Jason Patton's AI training. And if you haven't gone back to rewatch that, it's a mistake. You need to get on the Blueprint Collab community page and watch that ASAP. There's a powerful quote from that training that I wanted to present you guys with this morning. And I was asking Jason, I said, is AI going to replace real estate agents? And he said no. But agents that jump on the AI bandwagon now are going to leave the agents who don't behind. All right. So this AI conversation has gone from, whispers. It's just gotten louder and louder and louder and louder and louder. But I don't want to give too much away because I want you guys to go watch that episode and see how much he's doing with AI that's going to help you make the stuff that we're talking about today easier. All right. So you're going to be able to leverage a lot of the stuff that we're talking about in here that may have been holding you back prior. All right. So I mentioned to Blake a second ago, I've got my notes on a separate page. So if you ask a question in the comment section while I'm going through this, somebody needs to get my attention, and I'll try to toggle back and forth as we go through this. But I'm going to get started right away. So here we go. Hold on. All right. So we're going over the book today. I'm going to just cover some of the biggest bullet points I got out of this, feverishly underlining and highlighting in this book. And just to restate it, it's reinforcing just about everything that I've been preaching since the beginning of this year. Okay. And what I have found in the past training agents is that I am very easy to ignore or to not listen to, or, it just want. That's what you hear when I talk. So in the past, we brought in coaches, we brought in guest speakers. That's why I bring in these other agents to reinforce what I'm saying, to tell their stories about what they're doing so that the light bulb will hopefully go off. Because right now, literally everybody on this call is probably looking at another agent. Alex is looking at Rodrigo and going, I want that. How do I get that? He's got that. I'm over here like treading water, right? Chris is starting to step into his potential. Chris is the only person on this call right now who has identified his niche, right? But so much work left to do. And hopefully, this book will be kind of a catalyst for Chris to keep stepping into his power, which is his personal brand. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about in terms of takeaways of this book is really just kind of setting the stage for what real estate is today, like what it has become today. All right. So for better or worse, and what I want you to focus on is for better, for financial peace, financial security, wealth building, whatever you want to attach it to that is or has motivational value, do it now, because real estate has gone from selling homes to more about the agent brand. All right. So it's more about the agents that people are seeing online on social media that are captivating their attention or speaking directly to their interests that people are following. They don't follow the houses, they follow the agents, is my point. All right. So, what you have to do this because what you're doing now, the mindset you have now, is not serving you. The actions, your weekly schedule, routines. I mean, most agents I talk to don't have those. They're flying by the seat of your pants. That strategy, not working, not working. All right. So we're going to unpack this personal brand. And then for those of you who have just joined us, as I mentioned, if you want to do a workshop on this, if you want to get together in person, morning, afternoon, evening, I don't care. It could be at somebody's house, it could be at the office. We could have a workshop for those people here locally in Birmingham to really unpack this further. Okay. All right. So right off the bat, the first key principle that the book outlines is your niche. It says, define your brand niche and own it loudly. Define your brand niche and own it loudly. So, what I would ask Chris to do is to go to his social media channels, his platforms that he posts the most consistently on, and take a look at that and say, is my brand niche easily identified on my social media? Do I have to do a bunch of scrolling, or does it pop right off the bat? All right. So everybody should do that. Right. What are you wanting people to know about you? What do you want to be well known for? What do you want your business to stand for? And that is really connected to like who you want to serve and who are you most well positioned to serve. All right. What is your past experience? Chris has gotten a ton of experience with investors and flipping, and he's talked about his ARVs, how accurate those are. But you might be, gravitate to first-time home buyers. That just might fill your soul, right? You might have a prior military background and you want to focus on military families. Myself, luxury lake homes, but there's so many other things, right? That's the beauty of the real estate industry, is that there's so much opportunity. You don't have to, pick something that you don't like or that doesn't excite you. If your dad was a builder and you love the smell of sawdust, you should be in new construction communities daily, weekly, consistently. Why don't we do this? Let's pause on, or do we need to pause on key takeaway number one to unpack it a little bit? Does anybody have anything they disagree with that, or not understand what a brand niche is? All right, you've got to be known for one specific thing. One specific thing. That's like, so Blake was asking me, I was like, I got to run after this call to go show homes. She's like, oh, you showing lake homes? I'm like, no. I'm showing inland resale homes today to one of my buyers, a referral I got. Okay, so I'm not just selling lake homes. All right, I'm also working on, some new construction stuff. I'm working on some stuff here in Ross Bridge. I'm doing stuff. My ultimate goal, though, and hopefully where I'll get in maybe like the next 2 years, is somebody that doesn't have to leave the lake. Can just it's my bread. Like I don't have time to do anything else because I'm consumed with the lake, and that is feeding my bank account and feeding everything else that's important to me in my life. Confidence. Decreasing the stress, creating more opportunities for me to do more things in business or other areas of business. Who doesn't want that opportunity to be a reality? All right. So everybody understands they need to pick something. Like you're not well known for anything at this point, and you need to be well known for something. It is a blessing if you can pick the right niche, the right segment in this real estate industry that we're all in. It's going to not feel like work if you do that. And it's going to be just about rewards and like showing homes. I mean, all the stuff that like just irks you about the business, I wouldn't say all of it, but a lot of it is just going to melt away because you're going to really start enjoying what you're doing, maybe for the first time, right? Ever, you know? I think if you ask Chris, he's going to say, I love working with investors. I mean, it's just like the art of the deal, finding the deal, rehabbing it, being a part of that process, and then, you know, maybe turning communities from blight to, opportunities for young families to become homeowners. What's your thing? What's your thing? All right. And then once you identify that brand niche, the next thing would be to be thinking about, a personal brand mission statement. So one thing, I'm still working on mine, but here's just something simple: helping busy families upgrade their lifestyle on Smith Lake. Helping busy families upgrade their lifestyle on Smith Lake. So I can put that on my website. It's got a place for me to put a tagline on there. I can put it on my business card. All my marketing, all the digital marketing I do, any ads that I place. No questions. Nobody going, oh, this is bullshit. All right, we'll go on to the next one. You're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. So in your mission to self-discover what your really calling is in the real estate business, let's think about who you were in a prior life. I think about just growing up on the water, just being around waterfront properties my entire life. That's a connection that I have that I'm using to serve my real estate business, the trajectory of where it's going today. All right. All right. So after you just make this note or whatever, we can talk about it later. I can help you come up with this. If you're not using AI to help you come up with this stuff, again, big mistake. You're creating more work on top of work and less leverage. And that's may lead to, you burning out or not feeling like doing things more consistently, just kind of like bleh about the real estate industry. The next key principle you need to focus on is that you need to be laser focused on what it is that you are seeking to become a recognizable professional in that niche. So you need to go an inch wide and a mile deep on everything you can possibly get your hands on that might come up as a question from a buyer or a seller that is in this niche, right? So if I'm a golf course, expert, maybe I'm a Greystone, I start with Greystone. I just learned everything there is to know about Greystone. I mean, I know what the special is at the club, what they're serving for dinner on Friday night. I know everything. That's the way you're going to be known. I mean, that's the way. Another piece of advice, I don't know if you guys saw this, but I recently sat down with Justin Dyer to do a podcast interview with him. And I would highly recommend that you go back and watch the Jason Patton or listen to the Jason Patton episode from the week before last, our Monday morning productivity call, and listen to him speak on AI, and then listen to this Justin Dyer interview. There is a reason why he has earned this title, Mr. Smith Lake. Over 2 billion in sales on Smith Lake. But there's a reason why he's done that. I mean, he has seen like so many of these houses on the lake, if not the vast majority. He knows his numbers, right? I mean, he's heavily involved in all kind of events around the lake, whether he's sponsoring or participating. He knows the people. He knows, the community event calendar. He knows the small businesses that are in the lake towns around Smith Lake. He knows them. They know him. And you're not going to stump him on a question. And based on the amount of research that he does on the value of lake homes, he can answer a specific question about value or days on market or price per square foot. I mean, he can answer that question on a dime. So he doesn't have to give it much thought. It's right here. It's top of mind with him because he makes it a priority. All right, I've switched back over to or Zoom to check out the chat, and nobody told me I had a question here or a comment. So Teresa says, I feel like I could, but I don't really want to focus on one thing because no one thing really interests me. But I do have a lot of knowledge, a few top things, if that makes sense, like veteran stuff, yeah, investments, appraisal values, etc. So let's go back to the first part where she says, I feel like she doesn't know what to focus on because nothing really interests her. I appreciate the comment, Teresa, and I appreciate your honesty. You know, and I would say this, if I was you, knowing where the industry is going right now, and the fact that you are the let's just simplify this, okay? The more time you spend not trying to self-discover what it is that really piques your interest, that feeds you, that you're just like obsessed with in real estate, the closer and more likely you are to just continue or to be further left behind by agents who are jumping on this bandwagon. All right, if you look at the most successful agents, the top 300 in the Birmingham MLS, Greater Alabama, they're laser focused on something. They're laser focused on Vestavia. They're laser focused on Hoover. They're laser focused. All right. They're laser focused on having conversations with people, developing relationships, going 3 deep with their sphere of influence. You could literally be a sphere of influence expert. So I think the problem that most agents have, if they're going to be real honest, not with me, but with themselves, is that they're not spending any time thinking about this. You're spending more time waiting for your phone to ring than you're spending going out there and making something happen. Okay. The other thing where I was worried you were going with this statement before was that you didn't want to pigeonhole yourself. Like you don't want to focus on one thing. And listen, there's a book out there called The One Thing, written by Gary Keller. Top 100 most influential people in real estate every year for like the last 2 or 3 decades. So what I'm saying there by giving you all these references, books, podcasts, real life examples, is that this is very real and you guys are just ignoring it. You're afraid of it. And we're going to get to that in a second. The fear could be a very big part of the problem here. All right. And we can address that through another book, another Audible book, just whatever you want to do. If you're a reader, read. If you like to listen, listen. I mean, I think everybody under the sound of my voice, everybody that's watching now and watches the replay should get an Audible account ASAP. ASAP. You're driving around, going to showings, going appointment to appointment, you're listening and you're learning. Okay. Tree says, maybe an area. Yes, I could do that. Yes, that too. LOL. I read it. I couldn't find my one thing. How much time did you spend on it? How much time did you spend thinking about it? I mean, it literally is the most crucial thing that it's like should be the highest priority in your real estate business right now is finding your one thing. It's that important. Okay. And you got to think about it this way. If what problems are you having right now that more money in your bank account could solve? And a lot of times what it takes for agents to reach this point in their business to where they just start proactively focusing on the one thing and doing it very appropriately is that the pain of staying the same becomes too great. To maintain the status quo in their lives, it's too stressful, it's too painful. They just hit rock bottom and enough is enough. So my question to you my statement to you is that rock bottom is coming. That reality is coming. If it's not here already, it's coming. A month, 3 months, you're one dry spell away from, maybe going back to a 9 to 5. And I'm speaking to everybody here that is not focused on their one thing, that is not on this heavy content creation bandwagon. And that's where we start to get into the fear, right? And the self-doubt. And really how Mel Robbins refers to it in the book, The Let Them Theory, is that it's self-rejection. So if you choose not to do this after this call, if we have a workshop, you choose not to show up. If we start doing consistently making these calls about the one thing, which they have been since the beginning of the year, or trying to move motivate each other and hold each other accountable to this goal. If we don't get on that bandwagon soon, it's going to be a big problem. You got to get over it, or you got to go do something else. That's the key, right? You got to get over it, or you got to go do something else. Mel Robbins also talks about in her book, The Let Them Theory, that you've got this one big, beautiful, precious life, and you're headed to a place where the most prominent feeling in your soul is regret because you're squandering the time you've got. And so that's why I'm just hoping. I've been hoping since the beginning of the year that one of you would join me on this journey, that we could hold each other accountable and we could power through this, because I can tell you, there are days and weeks where I'm like, shit, this ain't working, or it's not working fast enough. I'm not seeing the results I want to see. I need to see more. And I'm anxious. I'm stressed out because I know you guys are probably focused. Some of you are probably focused on my leaderboard or focused on, my social media, looking for things that I post on social media as it relates to pending sales, new sales. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're probably looking at the board going, well, it ain't working good enough for him yet. So I'm not gonna jump on the bandwagon. I'm not buying in until I see the proof is solidly in the pudding. We don't have time for that, y'all. I mean, fourth quarter is, we are barreling towards fourth quarter, and fourth quarter is traditionally the slowest quarter for every single real estate agent in the industry across the United States. So what then? I mean, we should start now so that we can start 2026 fast. I mean, this is about 2026. What if you're 2026? Let me put it to you this way. In the Jason Patton interview that I did a week before last, when I was asking him about prospecting and his pipeline and his mindset around the business, he's at a place in his business right now where there's never panic. He knows the deals are going to come. He knows if his phone is not ringing today, it's going to ring tomorrow, because he's doing what is required. He's doing what is required to drive sales. All right. That's a great place to be. What if that was your reality in 2026? You could just stop worrying about where the deals are going to come from, if they're going to come, if enough of them are going to come. And gosh, what if you could just prioritize? I mean, there's going to come a time in my business where if the deal is under 200K, I'm probably referring it. I don't care where it is. It could be a mile from my house. I ain't got time, because I got to serve this whole other segment of the real estate industry that is very demanding of my time. And it's much more valuable in terms of the end result. And I love doing it. It doesn't feel like work. I mean, is that something somebody wants? Anybody on this call or anybody watching the replay wants, is like reverse prospecting for business to come to them instead of constantly chasing it. I mean, that's exhausting. And then the other fact is, you're working with people you don't like most of the time. Content helps you attract like, because like attracts like. So the people I work with, the majority of the people I work with, I mean, we're having fun. Like, it is fun. They're sending me pictures. Gosh, we love this. We love this lifestyle. Thank you so much. I want that for you, but I want you to stop getting out of your own way. I mean, and what Teresa just identified there is, she's in her own way. She's just had a very real and honest moment with herself that could lead to a massive business building breakthrough. All right. And I would just leave, I need to stop picking on Teresa, but I'll leave her with this one tip. I think she and Chris have a relationship. They're friends. They get along. They could easily be accountability partners in this regard. Okay. Let's keep going. I'm going to go to the next principle. Let me just recap real quick. All right. So first principle is really identify your uniqueness, your unique brand. What do you want to be known for? Alexander Shinar wants to be known for the personal injury guy, right? But you've seen several years of personal injury, and now you're seeing him break out into, I saw a billboard the other day that said medical malpractice. He's already established himself as the personal injury guy. So now he's trying to establish other streams of revenue. That's the beautiful thing. All right, principle number one, identify your uniqueness. What is your brand DNA? I recommended another book to help you find your brand DNA long time ago. Bluefishing, great book. It's like I listened to it on a drive to Huntsville and back, super quick. Second principle, become the expert in that one thing. Become the expert. If Chris pumps out a bunch of content that provides proof over promise that he is the ARV expert in Birmingham, the investors are going to come to him. He's going to have to start prioritizing them. All right, well, who's a pain in the ass? Who do I like working with? Who rewards me with referrals the most? Who's the best business partner? And then weed the other ones out that are just like, that wear you out for one reason or another. So condo queen, VA loan guy, Mr. and Mrs. Smith Lake, what do you want to be? All right. You want to be Mrs. Hoover, Mr. Hoover, Alabaster, Pelham, whatever. Teresa says, well, Teresa, I was trying to leave you alone. Teresa says, this year is like a year of undoing. The marketing I was doing at the flat fee 1% list, it was a ton of FISBO, which was a niche I had, but did not enjoy at all. All right. So let's look at it this way, okay? As a good thing. All right. So, but you can't really undo what you did until you're focused on one thing and become an expert in that field, right? I am glad you brought up FISBOs because that's a niche. That can be a niche, just working with FISBOs. But you don't enjoy that, so we need to figure out what it is you enjoy. If it's military families, if it's the city in which you live, is that Helena? Go all in on Helena. And we're going to talk about how you do that next. Let me know if you disagree with any of this stuff. In real estate, what is the point of content in real estate? What does it do? What does it establish? Okay, and it makes you relatable. It builds this like familiarity with people. It builds trust, and trust equals capacity. Try to hammer that home to y'all very consistently. Trust equals capacity. So trust equals the capacity to close more deals. All right. So I'm going to tell you to simplify it at first. Just focus on one or two platforms. If I had to pick two to recommend, I would probably say Instagram and YouTube Shorts. Instagram and YouTube Shorts. So Instagram, you can syndicate that to your Facebook personal page. So you're going to hit Facebook on autopilot. So that's why I think I'm going to settle on Instagram. YouTube Shorts, YouTube is like so vital to the future, like to the present and future of real estate agent careers. But YouTube loves long form content, and creating a 10, 15, 20, 30-minute video is not going to get y'all out of the office in front of the camera anytime soon, right? But if you focus on a YouTube short, 1 to 3 minute video, that's very easily to digest. And then the other thing is that you're creating the same content for Instagram that's syndicating to Facebook that you're also uploading to YouTube Shorts. Okay. So I think that's the way that I would go. But if you're like in love with, I don't know, X or something else, whatever, the whole thing is consistency. So if you're not a fan of Instagram, you're just, for whatever reason, you're not a fan of YouTube, then go with one or two platforms that you are just like super consistent with. And then let's start, I think, applying the 80-20 rule to this. So 80% of the content that you publish, that you distribute, is focused on your one thing. And the other 20% can be about everything else. Okay? Everything else. But 20% of your content is focused on your one thing. So if Alabaster is my one thing, that community is my one thing, that zip code, I'm going to own it, then what's today? Today is the 4th. So like around the first week of the month, you should have a graphic and then a breakdown of the data for alabaster from the prior month. So showing people where the market is heading, what's going up, what's trending down, and then break that down in the content of the post through text. Apply your expertise to the data, help clear it up. Sometimes the data, especially when you're looking at like just the averages across the board, they're not really telling the real story. So, you need to break it down for people. Another example of some content that you could put out would be what I'm doing, weekly home tours or a equity building tip. That's highly valuable, I think. So how can people, you know, increase the value of their home by doing some sort of addition, renovation? You guys know the thing. The other thing I'm seeing agents have like huge success with is real talk, right? So they're using Instagram Reels to break down the buying or selling process, and they're telling it like it is. This is where a seller's going wrong. This is where buyers have the wrong mindset. This is where they're missing out. This is where the opportunity is. You get it. All right. Now, I told you it was going to be kind of heavy hitting today. And I just love this book because it, like I said, it reinforces everything that, I've been preaching about for so long, because the next tactical advice it gives us in the book is to create a weekly content calendar. Now, I don't have a weekly content calendar because I don't need one. I've got so much, I've got a backlog of content, a backlog. And I know I'm getting it out, and I've got my virtual assistant who's helped me publish things consistently at the same time, same day. So that's how I'm solving that problem. But some of you really need calendars. You need like daily reminders. You need notifications from your phone telling you that you need to be out previewing properties and creating home tour videos. All right. So it could look something like this. Monday, market stats. That could be a post, could be a video plus text, could be a graphic plus text. Some of you need to start small with graphics and then work up to behind the camera and then work beyond that to in front of the camera. So Monday, market stats. Wednesdays, behind the scenes or Q&A content. Friday could be a lifestyle tour or tip. That's the other thing. When you talk about lifestyle, this is what most people are focused on right now in real estate. Okay. They're focused on lifestyle. That is unless you're an engineer, lifestyle is like really close. If it's not the top of the list, it's really close. But I will tell you this, from a content creation standpoint, lifestyle is what is going to give you the most engagement, create the most conversations, and build your following, quite frankly. All right. Aaron says content puts you in front of a huge audience, and the more they see you, the more they'll remember to use you when they need someone. 100% correct. But Aaron, what you need to do, okay, is you need to have a come to Jesus with yourself right now, today, this minute, as soon as this call ends, and audit your social media and go, what is the one thing? Like, is my content focused on, is 80% of my content focused on one singular segment of the real estate industry? What, if I go into your TikTok and start watching, not your, I think you have a personal, maybe in a business TikTok. If I go to your business TikTok and I start watching that and I go down that rabbit hole and I just stay there until I get done, am I going to come away with a very identifiable niche that you've selected? If I haven't, then we got a problem. All right. And it's a problem you can fix right away, because you're already so ahead of the eight ball, because you understand the value of this. I mean, your new Fairhope listing might have come from this. I don't know, from your content creation. That's the KD Edenfield business plan at the beach. People are starting to gravitate to him at the beach because of his marketing. I want him to market my home. Some people are going to be like, I want Tampa Bree. I want to hire her to list my house because she's just hilarious. I want her to create one of those hilarious videos for my house. All right. But not all of us can be Tampa Bree. We need to find our authentic voice and portray that out. And your authentic voice, you're going to find it through educating the public. All right. Educating the public on the market, in your territory that you select, whether it's golf courses or Hoover or wherever else, educating them on where's their live music this weekend? Who's got the best happy hour on Friday afternoons? I don't know. I mean, it's so much. Okay. Teresa said, I do like the idea of monthly, weekly update on the city zip code. I think I need a real estate therapist. So let me just say this. All right. This is something I don't know. We all might need to be working on this one day a week together. Those of us who can meet together. And then, since Aaron is probably, without a doubt, one of the more prominent content creators, not only in our brokerage, but in the market she serves, then the agents we still have in Baldwin County should be getting with her once a week for at a happy hour or something and talking about this, right? We should all be kind of each other's therapists in this regard, but also each other's motivators. You know, I know a lot of people hate the term accountability partner, but we need to feed off this from each other. Like I said, I'm going through issues myself where I'm just like, damn, it's just not happening fast enough. And uh, one of my past mentors in this industry, told me long ago that, they see most agents quit before a breakthrough. And I'm right there. I'm in it. I am in it. So, Alex, let me know if you find a real estate therapist. Hopefully, this is going to create at least some curiosity in your brain to maybe start dipping some toes in this water, or finding the agents that are doing it on YouTube, finding the agents that are doing it here locally, and going, okay, now I kind of recognize what that agent is doing. They're well known for this thing. All right. And I need to become well known for something. And I need to be doing it ASAP. If I was an agent, I know a lot of agents this year have had to get part-time jobs. I mean, I'm talking about industry wide. We've seen it a lot on the coast where Blake and I, began our careers, and I hear him talking about on social, frustrated, hear him talking to other people, other lenders about, how bad it is and how it sucks. I saw somebody just last night that was trying to sell a home on Dauphin Island. It was just like, it's dead. Like, nobody's looking at second homes right now. If you look at your part-time job through the lens of like agony, like, oh God, I wish I could get rid of this part-time job. I just want to be a full-time realtor and make the money I need, that I deserve, that I've dreamed about in this industry. This is the path. This is the path. But there's another reality here, right? That you could love your part-time or full-time job, and you could love doing a deal here or there in real estate, and you're totally content. All right. So maybe if that's you, you take a back seat from what we're talking about now, because what I'm talking about now is lights out generational wealth, where you no longer have to say, I can't afford it. You're living life on your own terms. You're taking as many vacations as you wanted to take. You're seeing the world, or you're eating at fine restaurants. You're becoming a big philanthropist, whatever feeds you, whether it's making money, spending money, or blessing other people with it. That's you. You do you. All right. All right. What I'm really talking about here, and this is the next core principle, is we're going to monetize the trust that we're building. Have you ever thought about that? That's why it's good to expose yourself to books and podcasts, because you might just open your mind up to a whole new train of thought. But have you ever considered that you can monetize the trust that you're building in the community? So if I am focused on Hoover, then I'm going to like on Facebook, I'm going to go to my personal Facebook page, and I'm going to like every single small business that I can find. All right. That brings value to the community. Restaurants, we know, do that. Places where people can see live music, where kids can eat for free, that has a good happy hour. Maybe it's healthy, whatever it is. It's just whatever's trending in our community. For example, the big SEC baseball tournament that happens every year, that's big. Like, if I was the Hoover guy, if I wanted to be the digital mayor of Hoover, if I wanted to become one of the most recognizable agents in Hoover, then I'm going to be there. I'm going to volunteer at that thing. I'm going to be shooting content. Give you another example. They had a poor man's poker run on Smith Lake this past weekend. And I volunteered to go shoot content with the folks at Duncan Bridge Marina, who were one of the stops on the poker run, and couldn't make it because I got called away to show homes on Saturday. And I was bummed about that. They had a blast. I saw the pictures. I could have gotten so much content, but at least I made the effort to try, right? So what are you doing? Like, what if I had gave Alex a shot of truth serum and started asking him questions about his volunteering? What kind of response would I get? Is he going all in on that? Probably not. And so we got to stop. This is, I think, a big thing that we can stop doing is once we take ownership of where we are and what our reality is in our business, we just take complete ownership of it and go, yeah, I'm not volunteering. I'm not putting out the market stats. I'm not putting out consistent content. I'm not previewing the listings for sale. If I'm a Hoover guy, then every week I am making an intentional effort to go out there and see the homes that have just come on the market. You just got to be real with yourself and go, listen, I can't be too hard on the industry or the market or the economy or politics or whatever the case may be that you feel like that you're reaching onto. It could be, personal problems, relationship problems. You can't go too deep into those rabbit holes and place blame where it really doesn't belong. You really got to first go, you got to own it and go, am I doing the things that modern real estate agents, modern mega real estate agents are doing to achieve these extraordinary results? That's going to be a big, or should be a big wake up call for a lot of you. It's just to self audit and go, what did I do last week? What did I do Monday through Friday last week to grow my business, to build my brand, to further establish trust in the marketplace? You're probably going to come up with a lot of time that was wasted. All right. Would you like to be one of the premier real estate agents in the marketplace, in this niche, whatever you decide, that people call first or that people refer freely because they just don't have to give it a second thought? They know that you got their people, or they know that you got them. Another example of how I can build trust through content on Smith Lake is I can do a video saying the top 10 things buyers need to know before buying on Smith Lake. I've already done the top 5. And that's like initial, like I'm thinking about buying a house on Smith Lake. Here's the top 5 things I need to ask myself before I get started. I could follow that up with the top 10 things like active lake buyers need to be on the lookout for. And that's going to help me build trust. And it's going to, when other people see it, they're going to be like, man, my real estate agents that I hired to help me find my lake house, they're not doing this type of stuff. They didn't educate me like this person is. Set up an email. Here's a tactical tip. Set up an email sequence using past clients and tag them with referral specific calls to action. All right. One of the things that I've talked about in the prior weeks is a newsletter. We had a call with Jay over in Jasper who said he started so this is a guy who's making, can't remember what he said. It's $200,000-$300,000 a year. And he's only been doing this full time a year and a half. And Jay Barrett selected Jasper as his niche. And if you go to his Facebook page, it's just listings. It's content, but it's also small business. It's all the things we're talking about now. But my piece of advice after Jay's call was identify your top 25. You might have a top 50 or top 100. It would be great if you had a top 300 and start putting together an email list to send out one newsletter at least a month. One newsletter at least a month. All right. So the referral specific calls to action just simply let people know that you need their referrals. You need their business, you need their friend's business, you need their coworker's business, and you're going to earn it by establishing trust. All right. The other thing that people just want to see is that you're busy. And so consistent content creation shows them that you're busy. All right, y'all, we're almost done. And I know we're going through this lightning fast. So, I'm going to leave it up to y'all to decide whether we do like an in-person workshop or where this goes from here. The next key principle is building a legacy brand. So you're thinking beyond the closings of today, and you're really kind of focused more on 2, 3, 5 years from now, where you've got maybe a very established newsletter that goes out. Instead of going out monthly, now it goes out weekly or bi-monthly. You've got a podcast, a well-established podcast about Helena, how it's everything to know about Helena podcast. You've got a robust YouTube channel with hundreds of videos on listings, on lifestyle, things to do, everything that's going on in Helena. And then you've got the money to spend on lead generation. So maybe you've got the money to spend on some realtor.com ads, some Zillow, some Google pay-per-click, so that you're getting that sphere business, you're getting that repeat business, you're getting that reverse prospecting business from strangers just because they're connecting with your content. And then you're getting a whole other income stream from paid leads that's serving you well. You're driving around town in the Hoover area, really well beyond the Hoover area. You're going to see a lot of Red Hawk Realty signs. Well, I guess those are about to change because the team's breaking up. But you're looking at a real estate team. I mean, they're at the top of the leaderboard of Keller Williams Hoover every single month. One of the most successful teams in all of Birmingham. I think they spend like 20 grand a month on Zillow. And that, if that doesn't knock you out of your shoes, it should, but they can afford it. The proof's in the ROI. All right. So what we're talking about here is building a business that is like bigger than you, that your name can live beyond, right? It just transcends. What happens when you build a legacy brand? You build a brand that you can pass down maybe to your kids, a family member, or you build a brand you can sell. I got a call from Jeannie Shea a while back. Guess she thought I had money, which at this present time I don't. And she wanted me to buy her business for like $1.5 million or something. I don't know if she's gotten somebody to take her up on that, but there's people there are companies out there that this is what they do. They broker real estate. They broker legacy brand real estate businesses. It's crazy, but it's true. So tactical, go out and buy the domain, identifies your niche. Okay. What's that around? Golf course, waterfront, military, first-time home buyers. Gosh, you could do downtown Birmingham condos. You could be a ranch specialist, pick a zip code, and everything is encompassed in that, included in that, all the way down to domains that you buy. Like I've got, a lot of Smith Lake domains that I have bought. Same thing with your social media. It reflects the long-term brand that you seek to build. Okay. All right. So let's recap. Got 2 minutes here. Oh, sorry, I kept you guys the full hour. But again, if you choose to jump on this bandwagon, it will change your life. And the other thing too is accepting a sense of personal responsibility for the other lives you could impact by doing this. The people you can inspire to follow in your footsteps is specifically what I'm talking about. But recap, we went over niche. All right. We went over establishing yourself as the authority of that niche. Then we went over the consistency, the importance of the consistency of that niche in terms of content distribution, the monetization of that niche, and then finally the legacy part of that. But legacy, we can just forget about that for right now, because what the hell does that even mean if in the absence of monetization, right? In the absence of financial security, legacy don't mean crap. So, what next? Do we have, Blake put together something on the calendar, and then we invite everybody to come, and then we just deep dive on this together. I don't know where we go from here, but I just wanted to deliver this message, and I hope you go out and get the book and you read it or you listen to it on Audible, and things begin to happen in your business. But the biggest thing you can understand right now is that the course that you're on is probably not sustainable. Okay. Or it's probably not going to be the vehicle that takes you in the direction of where you always dreamed your life would go. All right. Let's leave it there.